On the Brahmagiri mountain in the southern quarter, the great sage Gautama, Ahilya's husband, was deep in meditation. It was a time of great distress for the people, as a terrible drought had lasted for 100 years. The earth was barren, with not a single tender sprout to be seen. The people, filled with unbearable suffering, came to the sage for help. Moved by their plight, sage Gautama began an auspicious penance of Varuna, the lord of waters, for 6 long months. Varuna, pleased with sage Gautama's devotion, appeared before him and asked him to dig a pit. The Lord of Waters then filled the pit with divine water and said, "O great sage, let there be a perennial supply of water in this pit by virtue of your penance. It will become famous on the earth by your holy name. Charitable gifts made here, rites performed here, penance and sacrifices done here shall be imperishable." And so it was that sage Gautama's penance had brought water to the land, relieving the people of their suffering. His holy name was celebrated, and the pit became a place of great importance for all who sought to perform acts of charity, penance, and sacrifice. The divine water of the pit brought joy to the hearts of the sages, and the earth bloomed with greenery once again. One day, while Gautama's disciples went to fetch water, the wives of other sages also arrived with their pitchers. They insisted on being served first, causing a conflict to ensue. However, Gautama's wife, Ahilya, intervened and managed to give water to the disciples first. The other sages' wives, outraged by the incident, distorted the truth and reported it to their husbands. The sages, seeking revenge, decided to worship Ganesha and asked for his blessing to turn sage Gautama out of his hermitage after scolding him. When Ganesha appeared before them, he chided the sages, saying, "O sages, it is not right for you to be hostile to a sage who gave you happiness by gifting this region with divine water." However, the sages remained stubborn, and Ganesha was forced to yield. He warned them of the dire consequences that would follow their actions. And so, the sages carried out their plan, but their actions would soon bring them sorrow and regret. Days passed, and Ganesha took the form of a frail cow and entered the fields of barley and paddy owned by sage Gautama. The cow was grazing when sage Gautama happened to pass by. Being a kind and compassionate soul, he tried to ward off the cow with a bundle of grass blades. But the cow, unfortunately, died on the spot at the touch of the blades. Unbeknownst to him, the sages and their wicked wives were hiding in the nearby field and saw everything. They came out and accused sage Gautama of being a cow killer, hurling insults and stones at him. They demanded that he and his family and disciples leave the place at once, warning that as long as he lived there, the fire god would not accept any of their sacrificial offerings. Overwhelmed by distress, sage Gautama and his family and disciples were forced to abandon their hermitage and leave the place. It was a sad and sorrowful time for them all. After leaving the hostile sages, sage Gautama made his hermitage far away from that place. However, the sages did not allow him to live in peace and denied him the right to perform any sacrificial rites. Seeking absolution for his sins, sage Gautama asked the sages how he could attain purity. The sages replied, "O Gautama, go around the earth 3 times and confess your sins to everyone. After returning to this place, observe a fast for a month." They added, "If you circumambulate the Brahmagiri mountain 101 times, you can attain purity. Alternatively, you can fetch the Ganga over here and perform ceremonial ablutions in it. You must also propitiate Lord Shiva by making a crore of his phallic images. Afterward, bathe in the Ganga and circumambulate this mountain 11 times. Once you perform the ablution of the earthen phallic image of Lord Shiva with 100 potfuls of water, the expiatory rite will be complete." With a heavy heart, sage Gautama followed the sages' instructions, hoping to attain purity and absolve himself of his sins. Sage Gautama followed the sages' instructions to the letter, and even his virtuous wife, Ahilya, followed suit. The worship was so sincere that Lord Shiva, accompanied by Parvati and his attendants, appeared before sage Gautama and asked him to demand a boon of his choice. When sage Gautama asked Lord Shiva to make him sinless, the Lord replied, "O sage, you are ever sinless. You have been deceived by these wicked knaves. people of the world become sinless on seeing you. How can you be a sinner when you are always devoted to me? All the wicked people who have harassed you are sinners, evil-minded and stained with murder. They are all ungrateful, and there is no way for them to atone for their sins. Sage Gautama was surprised to hear Lord Shiva's words. He bowed to the Lord with reverence and said, "O Lord of the universe, if they had not done this, how could I have had the vision of you? If it pleases you, may I be given the Ganga for the redemption of the three worlds." And so it was that Sage Gautama was vindicated, and the wicked sages were exposed for their deceitful actions. Lord Shiva had bestowed his blessings upon Sage Gautama, and the Ganga was given to him for the redemption of the world. Lord Shiva granted Sage Gautama's request, and he gifted him with the essence of the earth and heaven in the form of Ganga water, which took on the form of a beautiful lady. Sage Gautama then prayed to Mother Ganga to rid him of the sin of cow slaughter. She thought that she would ascend to heaven after sanctifying the sage. However, Lord Shiva insisted that she stay on earth until the end of the Kali era. Mother Ganga, wanting to surpass the greatness of all, agreed to remain on earth. She made a condition that Lord Shiva had to accompany her, along with Parvati and the Ganges, with his beautiful body. Lord Shiva agreed to the condition, and at that moment, the gods, sages, holy centers, and holy rivers came to the scene. They worshipped Sage Gautama, Mother Ganga, and Parvati with great devotion and prayed, "Kindly stay here, taking pity on us and for the benefit of mankind." Mother Ganga, concerned that her greatness would not be realized by the masses unless the gods also stayed with her, asked the gods how she could ensure their presence. The gods replied that they would join her whenever Jupiter moved into Leo, and they would become unclean by cleaning off the sins of the people for 11 years. They would then take a bath in the Ganga to purify themselves. At the request of the gods and Sage Gautama, Lord Shiva stayed on the banks of the river in the form of his phallic image, and Ganga remained in the form of her holy waters. Ganga became famous as Gautami, and the phallic image became known as Triambaka, all because of the penance performed by Sage Gautama. From that time onwards, whenever Jupiter enters Leo, the holy rivers, holy centers, gods, the holy lake Pushkara, Vishnu, and others come to the banks of river Gautami. Brahma, Vishnu, and Indra come here to worship and adore Lord Shiva. The story of Sage Gautama and Ganga teaches us the importance of devotion, forgiveness, and redemption. It shows us that even the most terrible of sins can be atoned for through sincere worship and penance. It also demonstrates that we must always be compassionate and understanding towards others, even those who have wronged us. By doing so, we can earn the blessings of the divine and lead a life of purity and righteousness.